Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us. We are going to be discussing in this episode the newest Jacksonville Jaguars that have been selected in last night's 2022 NFL Draft. We are your hosts. My name is Frank, and that right there is my brother Mike. And so let's your Jacksonville Jaguars had the luxury once again of having the number one overall.
Is it a luxury? Is it a luxury?
And they chose
the NFL.
Who, Mike?
Travon Walker out of the
Travon
University.
Walker.
Travon Walker. Now, I'll pronounce his name correctly until he sucks on the field, and then he's Travion.
No promises.
So, but at least he's got that going for him, But he is out of the University of Georgia. He will be most likely an outside linebacker, defensive end, a big end in a 3-4.
It is a controversial pick, and I want to like the pick, but there's definitely a lot of things that need to be discussed that are negatives, and they're just unavoidable, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be overly negative.
Now, let me ask you a question. This whole podcast right now, is it because of the Karens in the press conference chat?
No.
Is that what spurred this?
No.
Because I did feel bad, and I was going to jump in on your side, but I was laughing, and I thought it was pretty funny.
Actually, you probably paid attention to more of their comments to me than I did. There was one guy. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm at work, so I'm kind of just listening. I'll just type something on my phone and then go back to. So if they respond, and that's very likely I didn't see anything that they had.
I saw. Well, the Karens were trying to get you to leave the chat room. They did not like. They did not see. So what they did was essentially they equated your negativity toward the individual, not toward the pick, not toward the organization. And I thought at some point you would come out and be like, look, the entire rest of the country said, take Hutchinson. We take somebody else. When have we ever been right?
Yeah.
So therefore, I have a right to think we're wrong this time as well. But you never said that. I was going to chime in with that, but again, I was laughing. I thought it was pretty funny. So I let it go. Maybe I'm a bad brother. Yeah, who knows?
I didn't know I was getting attacked.
So. It wasn't a lot. It was,
just little gripes.
Yeah, you had a few Karens. If you're gonna be negative, why don't you just leave the chat? That's mainly what the Karens were saying. But you got the Karens riled up, dude. That is so cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So there's part of that. Like, I don't want to come off as hating on the person. It's not his fault that he was drafted. But so the negativity, there's no way for it not to come off as negative because it is a negative situation and it's been created by the Jaguars, and it has,
and that's correct. But had you said this, it's not a knock against the player, it's not a knock against the person, it's a knock against our organization, because yet again they have gone against the grain, and throughout Jacksonville Jaguar history, the grain has proven to be right. Not Jacksonville, the grain. So
Right.
they didn't like the fact that you were questioning it, that they immediately took it as you were bashing the individual, Walker himself. I knew what you were getting at because we talk all the time. So I knew where you were going. And a lot of other people, I believe, did too. So there, like I said, you had one or two Karens who were crying, you know, get out of the chat. Why don't you leave? Why are you here? But that's what you
Yeah.
get.
And I think that we need to, we need as fans to, on the one hand, we need to be cognizant of the fact that we're dealing with people, but on the other hand, we also need to understand that we can't just be put in a box and treated in a manner in which when the team does things out of the norm, we're just supposed to go along with it. Otherwise, that's a strike against you as a fan. That's
Yeah,
kind of a ridiculous notion.
and I completely agree with you because what have they done for us?
Well, and that's the thing. I think if you understand football at least just a little bit, it leads you to this position where you're sort of, you want to be loyal to your team, but you also don't understand anything that, and it'd be different if this was so a non-Jaguar thing. So there was I forget the guy's name that was drafted by the Patriots, and everybody's questioning that pick last night. But the Patriots have a reputation that I assume, I don't know how this is in New England, but I assume
Bill
New
Belichick gets some
Englanders are
leeway.
probably like, that's a weird pick, but we trust Belichick. We don't trust our team because they've been doing this now for 2 decades. And to your point, there's been numerous occasions where they've gone against the grain. The consensus was what it was. And lo and behold, we were not the super geniuses that figured something out that nobody saw. That never has happened. If it has, somebody needs to tell me which player this was. It's always been, yeah, the consensus was right. And so that's one of the issues. And let me say this too. To sum it up, it appears to me that the draft, and we talked, this draft had an interesting scenario in which they talked about the fact that there was very little in the way of great quarterback candidates, and that meant something because the value, if anyone understands the draft, the value of the quarterback, the quarterback is the most important position in sports. So people will trade tons to get their guy just to take a shot that might be their quarterback. Okay. The next valued position, and this doesn't take into account talent, this is player X. We're just talking about positional value. QB is number 1. Underneath that are those who protect the QB and those who go after the opponent's QB. Those are the other 2 positions of value underneath the QB. What we did was we drafted a player who plays the position of going after the QB, number 1 overall, which is fine positionally, but has never done it. And that's the biggest issue. You have to get a pass rusher that rushes the passer. And that, to me, is the biggest red flag. And it has to be stated, and everybody has, and again, the national media is on the Jag fan, who the bitter Jag fan or the jaded Jag fan like me. And it's not on the side of those.
Wait. Okay. Let me ask you a question. When did questioning the decision make you a traitor or make you bitter or make you jaded or make you some kind of outcast outlier?
Well, the reason why they would say that is you haven't seen him on the field yet. So they would say you're already negative and you haven't seen him on the field.
Now that's a fair and honest point, and that's where I'm coming from. Like,
it's not fair.
I understand your arguments. I understand where you're coming from. And unfortunately, because I am a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, I again am giving them the benefit of the doubt. I didn't want Trent Baalke. I still don't. He's here. He made the pick. Like it or not, the guy's a Jag. So okay, he's a Jag. Let me see with my own eyes. I'm not a Georgia fan. I didn't watch Georgia at all. My understanding is Georgia, the entire defense is going to be drafted in the first round. That's my understanding. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from. Now I understand your place is you're very upset with it because you felt like it should have been Hutchinson. So the Jaguars made the wrong choice. And I can see that. I honestly can. I can get your side. But what do you do now?
Well, and I think to the other fan, the other Jaguar fan that does the glass half full Jaguar fan, that would be their point. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. What can you do? And that is reasonable. But I think what's not reasonable is to couch a concern that is reasonable and just throw it away as if it doesn't exist. I think that it deserves to be talked about, and it is something that needs to be considered, especially because this is a pattern. In regards to this, let's say, for instance, it wasn't Trent Baalke and it was somebody else. I think you'd have a less concern. I think it would still be there, but I think you would have more people. I think I would be a little bit more like this if we brought in a GM that maybe I supported. I kind of, I wanted to give the GM the benefit of the doubt. And this is the guy, he goes, this is the guy that we think will translate well for our defense. I would be more willing to support that. The problem is that Baalke does have a tainted reputation. And let me say this too. They had a press conference before the draft a few days ago, less than a week ago, I think, where they said they had
2 days ago, I think.
They had it narrowed down to 4 players, and they took some criticism for that because they're like, and rightly so, people are like, wait a minute, you don't know yet which player you're taking? To me, it's like, just say, we have a guy we're pretty sure, unless things change drastically, that we're going to select. Please don't ask who it is. We can't tell you who it is. That's a reasonable response to me. Instead, they made it seem like they're still debating this thing. And then they come out and they say things like,
we've known for a while.
There was never not a consensus on Travon to justify the pick. So it's like, y'all can't even get your stories straight. And that's the frustration. Again, so you have a front office that's not trustworthy. Now people say, well, Peterson's on board. I want to give Peterson the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know who's pulling the strings here. Is Peterson just, and again, I can't not see what I see. I can't unsee what I see. And that gets to the player. The player does not have stats that are worthy of the number 1 overall pick. He does not have tape. It's one thing to say, but the system, this is the talk. The system that he was in at Georgia was
stopped him from being somebody.
What system is this that causes your defensive end, whose job it is to go get the quarterback in a lot of occasions, who is surrounded, by the way, with a bunch of athletes that are all being drafted, apparently. So the offense that they're playing against, who are they focused on? So you go back and you look at the tape, this guy's one-on-one, and he's not doing anything great. What are we supposed to understand here? Why and this concept
right. Here's what it is, man. He's good against the run.
And he is good against the run. That's the thing that you can point to.
Yeah, but you don't draft good against the run number 1 overall.
That's exactly it. And
So,
and
look,
that's the thing.
and
It's like,
yeah, I'm just as perplexed. If you want somebody to kill the quarterback, you go get somebody who can kill the quarterback, not somebody you think maybe in a few years, once he learns a swim move or two, could do it.
we're
Right.
gonna teach a guy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
literally,
we haven't taught anybody any damn thing. Now, granted, it's a new regime, it's a new coach, so maybe they can bring some tutelage to these players. I doubt it. We haven't ever seen it. So until we see it, I'm going to doubt it. Just like I'm doubting the worthiness of this pick. I am with you. At best, we got a hell of a run stuffer, which, when we face Jonathan Taylor twice, we face Henry twice, that could help. That could help, but when we get in the playoffs and we got to go to Buffalo because we're a wild card team, or we got to go to Mahomes. You see Mahomes. If we got to face a quarterback, this dude ain't fucking helping. He's not helping. He's there to stop the run. That's what they're going to ask him to do. Now, we did draft I do like the linebacker we drafted, Lloyd, out of Utah. Yeah. Did you see anything? Did you like look at any tape on him today?
I have not looked at any tape on him. I have, and here's why. Well, first of all, I haven't really had a chance to do anything like that. It's just haven't had the time, but I'm not too worried about that guy because there's, again, when you'd make a selection where everybody goes, oh, that's a great selection. I'm not super worried that it's not a great selection. It could still not work, but it's not the same issue that you have with Travon, where everybody's scratching their heads in regards to
new draft. Here's the struggle for me. At pick 4, at pick 5, this would be touted as a good pick. At pick 1, it's not. And the only reason it's not is because there was a guy who had higher statistics, higher stats, who had did it, but he only did it for 1 year. Right? That's all.
No, that's not true either. That's not true. He had a really good year last year, but he did it every year. I mean,
he got better.
He got better, right? Okay. But that happens because that's maturity. What happens when you're on a team. What doesn't tend to happen is you're the most amazing athlete, and yet they don't use you ever. And then you go and become the number 1 draft. That I don't know when this has ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know that it is.
Even if you go, this is the defensive scheme thing at Georgia. How would that be any different than if you get into the pros? So he's going to come to
here's a question to people that watch this and listen to us, because I know at least one of them do. I think his wife is a Georgia fan. If Georgia fans, if you can tell us what defense limited Walker's production, like what is the defense? Can you tell us? Just leave it in the comments. I want to know. I want to know what the defense is called.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't.
I think I understand football enough to understand that, your defensive end has certain responsibilities depending upon the play, I get it.
Well, it's pretty easy, man. It's set the edge and kill the quarterback.
You're going to have opportunities to kill. There's one position where you where you have more opportunities to sack the quarterback than any other defensive position. That's the defensive end. That's the role he played. That's the position he played. Now, I know sometimes I think they did bring him in the middle sometimes. Look, I'm not bagging on the possibility this guy could be a great player. It's just, wow, you don't draft it number 1 overall, but not on this team. I don't think we need guys who could come in and affect the quarterback. And I just don't know if the thinking is we need a bookend on the other side of Josh Allen. I don't know who's fearing the guy who doesn't have pass rush moves. Like these tackles in the pros scout their competition.
Yeah.
And, it's not going to be hard to stop big athlete guy who doesn't know what he's doing. You're going to focus still on Josh Allen. So you're not alleviating the pressure. Now, I will say this, the defense appears to be a lot better looking on paper. Like I like the two linebackers with Lloyd and I got to get used to the guy's name. I get him and the defensive lineman confused.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this then. What if we have Walker as the big end on the weak side, flanked by Lloyd, and then you have our two middle linebackers, which would be Quarterman and the other guy we got from Atlanta, and I'm going to kill his name, so I'm not even going to try it. On the other side. Does that make sense? Would that?
Yeah, they could do that.
Would that may strike fear in your heart? And then you have Josh Allen on the far side. Right now, I'm trying to think who's the big end over there, because we had Goddess, but Goddess is gone.
Robertson Harris.
I think he's weak side too.
Oh, you're talking about with Josh Allen?
Yeah.
Malcolm Brown?
That it might be Malcolm Brown.
Yeah.
So you have Malcolm Brown and you have Josh Allen over there on that far side. So maybe again, look, I'm reaching, I'm trying. Maybe it's a combination of those two on the weak side could potentially generate more opportunities to get to the quarterback.
Well, and the thing about that guy, Travon Walker, is he's very versatile. I mean, they'll be more than happy to explain to you how versatile this guy is. The thing is that we need specialists here. We don't need guys who, are okay at everything.
Yeah. We don't need jacks of all. We need masters.
Yeah. This guy needs to just be put somewhere where the offense fears him. That's what you draft. That's what Aiden Hutchinson's supposed to be. Maybe he turns out to be bad, and here's the thing. This is what I'm totally expecting to happen. I'm totally expecting by, say, week 3 or 4, Hutchinson's already got 2 to 3 sacks. Our guy has 0 sacks. They're going to come out. They're going to explain to you how sacks aren't important anymore. How he's really he's providing something that you can't see. The average, the average person. I'm trying not to be negative. That's how I will feel when they talk down to me like this. But I'm trying to couch it in normal terms. The uneducated or you don't understand all the nuances of the defense and stuff like that. It'll be the same talk, basically.
He's taking on the double team, so that clears this guy up.
There you go.
That's exactly what.
Even though nobody will be double teaming him because nobody's scared of his pass rush moves, they're going to say something to that effect, and it's going to be this whole. Like, why do you draft a guy you got to even start your next press conference defending? It's just, this reminds me of Tyson Alualu. Remember that? It's like,
that is the Jaguar way. That is what we do. That's how we roll in Duval.
I know, but I thought getting Peterson was like the change that was supposed to happen,
Well, when your owner doesn't care and your GM's just a clown, what else can you do? It's a clown show, man.
Yeah. And, I don't know. I guess there's not too much more to really add we can gripe about this forever. And I do look, well, let me add this. I want to root for the guy. Okay. I do. But when you were you aware of this? Let me take it this way, that he is from a military family. Were you aware of this?
I know the linebacker is. The linebacker's from a Navy family.
Oh, okay. So
were you getting those two confused?
No, Travon is too.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't see that, because that's when I knew we were going to draft him, by the way. I turned on the local coverage. It was an hour before, because I was convinced even though this, I don't know what sort of smokescreen this would have been, I was convinced we wouldn't do something so crazy. Even though, and that's the hopeful. So don't ever say I'm not a hopeful fan, because I do have bouts of hopefulness, because even though this is a Jag move,
until it's shattered. Until it's
I,
shattered by our organization.
But then when I turned on the local news and they were already doing a puff piece on the kid, saying showing how his family's this military family, I thought, well, there he is. The word's out. They know he's being drafted. They didn't do that with Hutchinson. And then I also saw another interview with Hutchinson where they said something, they asked him a question and he basically said, well, whoever, because it was in regards to him being drafted by Jacksonville, possibly. And he goes, well, whoever drafts me. Well, so it's, he already knew he wasn't being drafted apparently too. That's what I gathered from him. So I was like, well, I guess Walker is the pick. And I guess the biggest thing is like when you come out and you say things like this, like, oh, you'll like him when you meet him. You know, this is stuff Peterson was talking about today. And this is why it's like, I don't know how to deal with this, because I want to support Peterson. He's the new guy, but this is what he's feeding me. Like, I honestly don't care that he's a nice guy. I mean, I like that. I prefer the nice guy. I prefer the guys you enjoy rooting for, you know, but that's not why you draft them. And if they go, oh, he's a military fam, he's from a well,
who cares?
Mike,
who cares? Yeah.
Me and you, we're probably pretty rare. We've got both our parents, mother and father, are veterans of foreign wars. How many people can say that, you know? Do we deserve to be drafted by the Jaguars #1 overall? I mean, this is the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. We do now. That is the criteria.
I could be good. I could be good. I could be like Bobby Boucher, high quality H2O. Like, I mean, I could be good at something, right? If he's getting drafted #1 overall just to stand up to the run, dude.
And that's,
I mean, some ice down Gatorade. I got it. I got you.
We'll teach him pass rush moves.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what you go to college to do?
I often say, look, your first round picks are first round picks because you don't have to teach them how to play the game.
Right. And then they say, well, and here's the thing too, like the whole ceiling floor talk, I hate it with a passion, because the floor I get, the floor is what you see. The floor is substantiated. You go, here's somebody's floor, and that's pretty reasonable. But this ceiling talk it's so subjective. Nobody knows anyone's ceiling. Nobody. Tom Brady's ceiling was short. The way we judge ceilings, Tom Brady's ceiling was short. Was his ceiling short? No. It's the tallest freaking cathedral in football. And nobody would have said that. And I'm tired of the ceiling crap. And they do that with this stuff. It's like, oh, this guy's ceiling so much better than Hutchinson's ceiling. Nobody could possibly know that. And in the way that the NFL has worked, we have recent history to see this. They said similar things about the boat. Well, not Nick, but Joey, they did. He's too much of a technician. He's too good at his job. Therefore, his ceiling's lower. They said this about the kid. Because there's, you know, NFL, he'll never get away with that against NFL tackles. Yes, he does. That's how you win in pass rushing. How you don't win is not having the technical moves. That's what we drafted. So and Hutchinson has those. And I don't know, I'm not selling Hutchinson. I didn't think Hutchinson was this amazing. To be fair, I didn't think he was worth the #1 overall either. There were things about him that bothered me, but he was clearly the best player in this particular draft. And he was apparently the position that we needed by their own admission by drafting who we drafted. So that makes it all the more. And so we're going to see this comparison too. And it's not going to take long. And we're going to, here's one thing I would say. I'm sorry I'm rambling so much, but
yeah.
Here's one thing. Here's a positive. Okay. If he does just be this meandering guy who's on the line, not really being dynamic, which is what I sort of expected him to be, we can then throw another log on the fire, Balky fire. And if he turns into something good, I will eat my words. I will say, yay. I will be one of his biggest supporters. And I will even then say Balky has redeemed his reputation in my eyes as somebody who evaluates talent. So
no, I need a little
direction
more.
That can go. I will say that.
I need a little more from Balky.
A little more from Balky. This is such an interesting move in this respect. He's put his reputation on the line. And that's just something I saw in the press conference too that kind of annoyed me, because if you remember that part where somebody said, well, you drafted something, he stopped him. He's like, well, let me say this. He said it and I'm going to say it. We all drafted him. Like, no, you're the GM. You drafted him. That to me, that bothered me right there, because it's like, no, you're the personnel guy. I mean, that's literally your job. The owner didn't draft him. He hired you to tell him. He hired you to pull the trigger, to tell him who should be drafted. He hired you. The coach is the chef. He cooks the food. You stock the kitchen. That's your job. You brought that guy here. And he's already trying to pass the buck, but I don't think he can do it.
Well, but that's what he does, right? I mean, that's what
that's his reputation. That's his reputation. And that's the point. It's sink or swim with Balky. That's this pick, in my opinion. Now, I hope Khan will. That's the negative side, though. We have an owner who doesn't seem to see reality in any way that all other 31 other teams see reality. Their owners fire people who do bad jobs. Our owners don't. So Caldwell got to keep his job when he put his neck on the line with Bortles. I'm hoping that Balky won't be able to do that, and that this will, like, he's got to have a good year this year, Walker, in order for Balky to keep his job, in my reality. I think in the real world.
I agree. I think we'll know what we got in the preseason. If he can't beat, because he's going to be going up against second and third string guys most of the time. And if he can't beat them, then I expect 2 sacks. I think 2 sacks is reasonable coming out of preseason, because we'll have the Hall of Fame game too. So 2 sacks, that's reasonable. And that will say, okay, well, maybe let me continue to watch. Yeah.
What would be immensely ironic is if, in part of training him to trust the passer, they show him footage of Hutchinson. Here's how you do it.
Yeah. Watch tape on this. Yeah. Watch tape on this guy.
And you saw how fast the Lions went up with their pick. They're like, this is why you don't trade with the Jags, because but
this is why we're yet again picking number 1. This is why we picked in the top 5. I don't know, like 8 out of 9 years, or 6 out of 8 years, something stupid. But this is why, because this is the shit we do.
And instead, and that whole thing about, the information getting out that Travon Walker was the pick was no benefit. So who leaked it or where it came from? And the thing about that, to me, is weird, because that all that did was solidify, because, my stance was, you could have gotten something from Detroit to move up to get Hutchinson. It didn't have to be a lot of compensation, because we're taking the risk with Walker. And if you're the GM who goes, I'm willing to take the risk with Walker and pass on Hutchinson, even though he's the more sure deal, you can go to Detroit and say, look, I'm gonna want to be reasonable about it. I'm close with these guys. I can be swayed to Walker if I have a little bit more compensation. But if you don't want to do the trade, I'm going to take Hutchinson because he's slightly better on my list. And then you just take Hutchinson if they say no. That's been my position the whole time. The fact that you leak out it's Walker and then go, no, nobody called us. We were waiting by the phone. Nobody called. We told everybody. It's like, yeah, that's not how it works, man. I don't know how it works. Okay. It doesn't seem like it works that way to me, because they said they were open about trading for the number 1 pick last year when everybody know that, yeah, okay, maybe if you traded every pick and players, maybe they would have been willing to get, to not go with Lawrence. But that's not a realistic scenario. You have to call teams and say, look, it's a fire sale on the number 1 overall. To a certain extent, we're going to be real reasonable about compensation. So if there's a guy you really covet, talk with us and let us know. We might be willing to trade out of the pick. That's what you do. You don't go, we're open. Call us if you want to discuss. Well, nobody called. I mean, that's another thing I have an issue with.
Can you do that voice for like an entire whole segment? Like an entire podcast, because I think we need to come up with some Trent Baalke questions, and you can play the part of Trent Baalke. I think that'd be hilarious.
we could talk about that.
Yes, yeah, I think we need to discuss that. Anyway, I think we're getting close to our time.
Yeah.
The draft starts in an hour, so just in case you guys didn't know, we traded away our 2nd round pick last night. We may trade back up. I doubt it. I was looking at the players left, and I didn't see anybody we needed. Value needs. So I'm thinking 3rd. I think we wait until the 3rd and just see who's there. But we got 2 picks in the 3rd round, so we'll be picking twice tonight if we don't move around. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, go Jags.
Your exuberance is hilarious.
That's all I got, man. Baalke is once again taking the wind out of my sails.